find somebody that has been down and out, just become homeless, don't have a clue how to be homeless. Really, their first line of defense is get them fed, nutrition. If you can't take care of that physical need first and get them fed, even before the clothes, before trying to get their social security card or driver's license, before any of that, you have to get healthy nutrition in their body so their mind works well, their body works well, so they have energy to function. So it's always first to get the food in them, and then we take that step first, then we go to the next step.
Shirley, we're so glad to have you on the Good Work West Texas podcast. So,
Thank you.
yeah, for those of you joining in, Shirley Almanza, she's the executive director of Breaking Bread Kitchen. So we're really excited Leslie and I are excited about having the opportunity just to have a conversation with you about breaking bread and about your life and just how other people can get involved and be a part of the good work that's happening in our region.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. And anytime I can spend an afternoon with you two
You're
is
sweet.
a great day for me and my new friend Ryan as well. So
Good,
you're
good.
sweet.
Well, we're happy that you're here and we're excited just to have our audience learn more about breaking bread and we'll kind of just start a little bit just of the history of
Mhm.
breaking bread and what you do, if you can share just a little bit about that.
Well, I
And
do love breaking bread. Yeah, it's definitely in the little over 2 years I've been there, it's definitely become a passion. I was just looking across to my staff members yesterday and saying, I love my job,
Mhm.
and I really do. And we have an amazing staff, and our staff. We actually have a policy you can't gossip and talk, and we truly love each other, and we love what we do. So it carries over with the guest, and we love our guests. They've become family. We eat dinner with them every day and breakfast every morning. So um, yeah, I love talking about breaking bread and excited to dive right into it. You let me know where you want to start because there's a lot of facets to
Well,
breaking bread.
tell us about the history of what was the need. You're located in Midland, so what was the need
The
that
need
someone saw
started,
several
yeah.
years ago?
Mhm.
So you feed people, but tell us a little bit more about that. Who
It
are the
started
clients?
with a man named Robert Dorn. And he, 1986, I believe, he started feeding the homeless and those with food insecurities right out of the back of his pickup truck. And that's where it started. And then a church got involved. They gave him an office in their church, and that church, built a team around him. And then later on, they bought the building where it is now, and that was 1986. But the building's been there for over 20 years. Our location that we are now, which is 410 East Florida Avenue, and so it's been many years in the building. The reputation of Breaking Bread is amazing. I know every nonprofit goes through growth and hiccups here and there, and we've certainly had our share of those, but we are on a beautiful track now, and I feel like um, I love what we're doing. I love the guest. There are some clarifications about our guests I would like to make
Yeah,
and use that
absolutely.
opportunity to do that as well. Um, but anyway, we're grateful Robert Dorn has since gone on to be with the Lord. He claimed his passion and gave thanks to the Lord and all that he did, and the team that got behind him as well. So I never met him, but I see his fingerprints on everything, even though he's been gone for a long time. But we definitely carry on his mission and have, of course, added our
Right.
own twist since then.
It's so great to see when people believe in something and then you get to honestly reap the fruit of the work that was initially done. And I think it's inspiring for people because you get to see the legacy of just taking that step and doing it out of his truck. Just, I mean, that It's like it didn't have to be
That kind of
fancy.
gave me goosebumps.
It was just something that he believed in and saw a need and was willing to go meet it immediately, and
Yeah, Cindy,
then
early in my ministry, I started over 25 years ago. I was a children's church pastor for 9 years. I became Christian education director from several years, youth minister, dance teacher,
Mhm,
those kinds of things. Um, Several different agencies
mhm.
that are Boys and Girls Club. I mean, ah, Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm sorry, it
Yes,
took me
it's
must be
okay,
so long
it's
ago,
okay.
but anyway, Mission Odessa for several years. So there's been a series, and in the beginning, early on, you come in ready to change the world, and you want to start this ministry and that ministry, and the world needs this, and the world. And God taught me early on to look and see what's going on, what's happening, where He's making moves happen, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, jump on and gather with those forces and build a team around what he's already doing.
Mhm,
And so, with you saying that, that's exactly what I've learned over the year, sometimes the
mhm.
hard way, and
Yeah,
God getting my attention that way. But yes,
yeah.
um, I learned a long time ago to join forces and not compete with each other, but come together. And I'm a part of an organization now. I'm actually the chair of the Homeless Coalition and the Midland Homeless Coalition. And I'm crazy about that organization, those agencies. There's over 30 that come together with the same uh, thing in mind, and that's to surround the homeless with resources and things that will help them get better and self sufficient.
I think that's really great just to hear that story of a lot of times, especially donors and volunteers, they want to know the good work being done and to know that people are working together in that. Makes a huge difference for people to know that everybody's coming together and seeing the strengths of the different organizations coming together, whether it's, help for mental health, or if it's
Mhm.
feeding or clothing or whatever those needs are, that different people are supplying that in our community. And I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that anytime you share things among a group of people, it can be difficult. So, it's a lot of joy, but it's also a challenge because you're dealing with a lot of different agencies. So, thank you
Yes.
for taking that
Thank you.
step.
It can be a challenge, but in the end, we adore each other, and it's so nice to be on the same page and with the same goal. And again, in early in your ministry, you learn you. I tried to uh, just start something new. We need mental health classes. We need this. And I've learned since then to reach out to those agencies that are already experts
Yeah.
in that field and stay in our lane, if you will. And so we work better together with their expertise and what
Mm,
I do best and what they do best. So we definitely tap into each other's resources and expertise, and
mm,
that helps the whole process
mm,
for that individual that we're serving and helping to go better. And we work closely and pass those guests, to each other, and the guests know that we work closely together and that we're friends
That's
as
good.
well.
Good. So, how do you see, just when you think about the people coming in and describe to us and your clients, describe to us, their stories, where they're coming from. I think they're in the community. Sometimes there's misunderstanding about who these people
Mhm.
are. Maybe there's not good clarity about that. So,
Yeah.
could you describe some of the people that come in and out of the doors every day that you're having conversations with, and the volunteers that come alongside you? What
Mhm.
can they expect
I would love
to
that
know?
opportunity because there is misconceptions about what causes homelessness. And I'll have to admit, in 2007 was the first organization I worked with that served homeless.
Mhm.
I worked with many other agencies before, but I went to work for an organization called Mission Odessa, and we had several different facets, if you will, to that ministry, and homelessness was one of them. And that was my least educated, and I hadn't worked with homeless much other than taking some food to the corner and or
Mhm.
serving those guys. And, my mindset was just, I'm going to go ahead and use the word as ignorant as some others
Mhm.
out. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I
No.
wasn't educated or didn't understand homelessness. And in my mindset, I think, well, they look healthy. Why don't they just go get a job or this and that? But I've learned so much since then. And I've learned that homelessness can be in our economic situation that we live in. It tends to cater to those that have great big salaries, the oil field. And when housing knows that they can uh, sell a home for a whole lot, or there's not uh, affordable housing because there's a shortage of housing, and they can sell to those that have,
Mhm.
plenty. That leaves the minimum wage workers and those with low incomes with very uh, few choices, and they lose their homes, and they end up homeless. There's other situations. It could be a car accident where they've had a wreck and been injured, and the next thing they know that they are on disability, trying to live on a disability check, and become homeless because in their home, which is Midland, Odessa, the Permian Basin area, it is the cost of living is higher than some, and um, there's just not as many resources as some other places that cater to a lower income area. It could be, um, a split, a divorce. It could be um, lack of a support system. Right now, I have an influx of young people. I probably have right now at this moment 15 homeless kids under the age of 24.
Mm.
Homeless, living rough sleepers, which means that they are sleeping in the elements. There may be a handful of those that are staying at the Salvation Army, but the majority of those are sleeping outside. And I would say out of that number, there's maybe three or four that actually use drugs. The rest are clean, but they have had arguments with their parents and ran away, or they aged out of the foster system, um, and
Yeah.
made a mistake when they aged out, or committed a crime because they haven't been taught, but they're really amazing human beings, which I have grown to love the human being. The human that's standing in front of me has a amazing purpose, has value, has potential, and people look at them as somebody that's just on the street, and they stereotype them as a drug addict, and all homeless use drugs or
Mhm.
alcoholics.
Mhm.
There are some that do drugs. Now, I don't judge why they do that because that too could be from very many
Mhm.
reasons.
Mhm.
It could be they had an accident, got addicted to painkillers, and then it progressed. It could be they made stupid choices as a young
Mhm.
adult and got addicted
Yeah.
to drugs and hung out with a bad crowd. It could be that. But I guarantee you, every one of them that are in that situation want to be out of it. There is not one of them that just say, "I like being a drug addict.
Mhm.
I love this life."
Mhm.
They want a new life. They don't know how to get out of it. So they live that cycle.
Right.
They need the opportunity to be rehabilitated, and sometimes there is nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
Um, there is these kids that I have to see every night and leave, after we feed them dinner, and they consider all of my guests consider breaking bread their family, their home, because we pride ourselves in a statement that is where nutrition and compassion come together. We love the fact that every night when they come to dinner, we tell them, so glad you could make it home for dinner tonight. And they just beam,
Mhm.
And then if there's enough volunteers there, I always tell them, stay seated. We're going to serve you like the royalty that they are. And they just throw their shoulders back and hold their head just a little bit higher because they are royalty. And because they've made bad choices or been in this situation, our circumstances that they are right now doesn't make them less value.
Right. Thank you for thank you for saying that because I think so many times we all of us and I think each person and that's our hope is that listens to the podcast that we learn something from it and I think that we've all been at the place that you've talked about that maybe we were ignorant, maybe we misunderstood, but then when we find out that information about people and we are willing to listen and be curious about the learning who they are and giving hope and allowing to help them and to see them for who they are as a person, um, I think it makes a complete difference in hopefully the people, Leslie and I, the people in our audience that are listening to say, how have I viewed people? Am I viewing them with the value that they deserve? And understanding that I don't ever understand everything about their story. And it's just that ownership of being humble enough to really recognize I don't know everybody's story. And for me to act like I do and to label people makes me in a place of assumption that I know better. And certainly, I think that's where volunteers, that's where people that are donating money, the support can come in and
Mhm.
really come in with a heart that is humble and willing to learn and to value people for who they
Yeah.
are. So,
I tell my
um,
staff, we're in a position to love the unlovable for that day. Not
mhm,
that they're unlovable, but
yeah.
if they come in with mental health issues and are rude,
Mhm,
or but you have no idea what trauma they've experienced, PTSD because of the trauma that they've experienced, which can be horrible.
mhm,
They've gone through something to rearrange those neurotransmitters to cause them to be um, have mental health issues. They don't just happen, you know. And to understand that you have no idea what they had to go through to get there, but love them. And anyway,
yeah.
I have a question.
hmm
Can you walk us through? Because I've been to Breaking Bread many times, so I understand the facility. I understand what you do and what it looks like. But for the audience who's listening who maybe has never been to Breaking Bread, can you walk us through, like, what does that look like, a day in the life of one of your clients or your guests that come in? Can they come in and they eat breakfast? You've talked about different meals and they feel like it's home, but can you walk us through, like, what does that really look like to be your guest?
yeah, okay. Well, we get there around 7 a.m. and we start with breakfast. And we prepare breakfast. We load up and try to be on the road by 8 a.m. And we use our breakfast truck to, and would love to invite y'all to come and join us. It's really the favorite part of my day. Well, they're all my favorite, but anyway, we go into the encampments, and when I say that, that's where they live in the elements. Sometimes they are too far to, because there's a lot of city rules where they are moved around and can't live. So I mean, in the city area. So we go take food, and that many times is their only meal for the day. Sometimes they have dogs that they are unable to stay in the Salvation Army, but they love those dogs like their
Mhm,
family. I know I do mine.
mhm,
And anyway, we do that and through the morning, and then we start preparing for the dinner. We dinner service that evening. We serve anywhere from 50 to 70 breakfast every morning. On that breakfast truck on Fridays, we also hand out weekend bags that sustains them for the weekend. But now we're feeding breakfast Monday through Saturday, but we go ahead and hand out the weekend bags on Friday. And those non perishable bags that have pop tops and they can eat throughout the weekend. And then as far as lunch, we don't want to duplicate services. There's a couple of other agencies that feed lunch, but there are some clients that are banned from that agency. The soup kitchen feeds lunch. We actually transport people over there to try to support their lunch, and we use our staff to take them over there. We say we don't really feed lunch, but we end up feeding some because they're either taking showers because we open at 11 and open up our showers, and there's nothing like a hot shower to restore dignity in someone that's slept outside in the elements all night or don't have water at home, and there's a lot of those as well. It's not just the homeless, it's some of those that have homes but don't have electricity or don't have water, for whatever, or can't afford
Mhm.
water. Um, so anyway, we'll hand leftover breakfast or leftovers from we don't prepare lunch, and then we'll prepare a good restaurant quality dinner for them, and we don't hold back. We don't just throw hot dogs and stuff. We have a program called Nutrition First, and that means that every meal, breakfast and dinner, we serve a fresh produce and fresh fruit with every meal, a salad, vegetables, that are fresh
Mhm.
and nutritious, proteins that are, not processed food and stuff like that. Now, on occasion, we will serve a hot dog or something, but not very often. But we'll serve a salad with it to make sure they get that nutrition. Um, we serve anywhere from 80 to 120, 130 guests per evening. And then we'll hand out another 30, 40. Last night, I think it was 60 to go plates as well. So there's a lot of food that goes out. We completely ran out of food and had to start pulling things out of the fridge last night. So
Are there credentials to be able to get a
no,
meal?
we if they come in and say that they're hungry and need a meal, there's no restrictions. Um, we feel like we're already taking care of them in the hardest time. When they come in and do we have pantries on, used to be Fridays, but now it's Thursdays, and we set out a full blown pantry with proteins, fruit, snacks, all of that, and they can take their bag and fill that up with snacks. We do ask for information, very vague information on that. If they have an income, if they have an address, but that's just because of our TFAP rules we have to answer to. So we do take care of that and we do take a meal count every evening. Uh, but if they come in and they say they're hungry, um, we feed them.
Good. Thanks for just
Mm.
sharing that day in the life because I think it helps people to know not only from two different ways. It sounds like you're going through a lot of food, which we know takes money, and so that's something just for you know we want to always support the nonprofits that
Thank you.
we're interviewing here and let people really know the need of what are some of those things, food. But I know even with the showers, as you mentioned, there's need for, I'm assuming, toiletries or
Mhm.
shampoo, soaps, those kinds of things too
Right.
that you could use.
We've
And
been
so,
doing at least anywhere 16, 25, 30 showers a day. It's just nonstop from the time we open until, many days. There are a couple or three that don't get to
mm,
take showers before we close. We have to close by dinner time, but I just tell them come back tomorrow, and they do. And So eventually they'll get a shower. But yeah, it does take a lot of money to get that done. We're a tiny staff. We only have 4 full-time staffers to get that many people fed, and then 2 full part-time.
Okay.
So we do depend on our sweet volunteers, and we adore them.
Yeah.
Um, we ask, yeah, we love donations.
Yeah.
We're doing our first fundraising event, and it's going to be an annual event this November 20th. It's going to be amazing. It's called the Magical Christmas Experience, and we're extremely excited about it. So you'll see more about that on our website, on our Facebook
Mhm.
page. So we'd love anybody that would love to get in an amazing Christmas spirit. It's going to be so cool.
That's great.
It's gonna
That's
be
great.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
with a living nativity scene and lighted carriages and
Yeah.
just it is gonna be magical,
That's
no doubt.
great. That's great. Well, thanks for sharing that. And like I said, I think with the, when people listen, they want to know about your organization. They want to know who you serve, why you do what you do, and that's important. Not only from the donor perspective, but from the volunteer perspective. When you think about the ideal number. Well, I always want to put that out for people because I don't want to be vague about, hey, they need volunteers. Come on. We really want to be specific. Leslie and I feel the real need to really get specific with people about how many volunteers are needed each evening, or prep for breakfast, whatever that looks like. How many volunteers do you really need to run that
Well, let
well?
me tell you, there's this amazing app
you are, you're sweet. You're
that
sweet.
every neighbor that has assisted us, and I think you know a little bit about that,
Yes.
and, if you'll go to our website,
Mhm,
and our Facebook page, you can connect with that, and, of course, call our office, we'll send you the link,
mhm,
and you can, get on that website and that link, and it will tell you exactly how many volunteers we need for each, um, time slot, what task you'll be doing, and, you can sign up, it'll tell you when that, particular time slot is full, you
mhm,
can move to another time, we love groups. We love churches to come, life groups, youth groups.
mhm.
We always have a great time. We've never had a bad time with any group that I can remember.
Yeah, that's
Um, but we invite you to go
yeah,
to, you can go directly to every neighbor and find us there.
mhm.
So, yeah.
I think that's great.
That's
Well,
my next question that I was gonna ask before you ask that is, now what does it look like the day in the life of a volunteer? What does it look like for me to come volunteer?
Depending on what time slot you choose, and it starts at 8 a.m. Um, you can come, in the morning. If you come at 8, we are usually preparing the dining room to make sure chairs are put down and that sort of thing. It could be food prep, just cutting vegetables, and there's a lot of work getting every day, getting that kind of food ready to go out, for every single day when you got a tiny little staff like we have. Those volunteers are our bread and butter to build. We do I think 75 weekend bags a week, so those have got to be put together before Friday comes. And breakfast sandwiches have to be built. We do 60 to 70 of those. Build those, so you could be building sandwiches. You could be prepping vegetables, building weekend bags. In the evening, serving drinks, serving plates. There's always the dishes to wash and that kind of thing. You could be stirring the pot. You know, um, Trucks come in once a week. Sometimes it's unloading trucks and putting groceries and supplies away in the pantries, in our supplies pantry.
mhm,
Um, just a very putting donations of clothes out on the table. Um, they become just as our volunteers become just as attached to our guest as we do. And I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it to say it's sometimes it's never a dull moment. Sometimes, it gets a little feisty around there, but it's never out of our control. If we have to go to different means to get things calmed down, we do. We just call in whoever we need to call in, and
Yeah.
whether it be the ambulance or the police, whatever, to
Yeah.
clear it out. But we just do what we need to do and take care of our breaking bread guests and family and volunteers.
That-
Good.
And it's a safe place. You don't have to worry about your youth groups. We have lots of youth groups that come, and they always have a great time, and we love them. Um, and there's a lot of youth that come even alone. The cutoff age is they have to be 13 and over. And they have, if they're 13 to 16, they have to be a responsible adult. That, we always ask the parents, are they responsible enough that would you leave them alone? We don't leave them alone,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
But yeah,
Yeah.
but
can they handle this
yeah,
basically? Yeah.
can they handle respecting authority?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they are, there's only been a couple of times we've had to send youth home out of the 2 years. I literally say you could count it on one hand.
That's great.
So can I ask a question? Because I think that this goes back to the idea of clarifying. I know that there's terms, and so I just want to clarify for people what that is. And it sounds like you serve them all, but there's homeless and there's houseless that I know of. Are there other terms when the community hears things about the homeless community, or how many do we have that
Yeah.
live here? Like, what are we really talking about as far as that? And can you clarify the
Mm,
different
that's a good
things so
question.
people know? I
That's,
think it's
that's
good to be informed.
That's a really good question. The rough sleepers that I was talking about, those are unhoused. They sleep in the elements.
Okay.
And then there's are unsheltered is a better term.
Unsheltered. Okay.
hmm
Okay.
Unsheltered homeless. And then there's sheltered homeless. They are homeless. They don't have a home, but they may stay at the Salvation Army. Now, they are only allowed to stay there for a certain amount of time. So, after their stay and their time is expired, they'll be right back on the streets unless they have you know when they're there. It's our opportunity to all work together to try to help them be more self-sufficient,
Mm.
and that's when we really come together. When they're in my facility or the uh, Salvation Army, we have that opportunity. We have their attention, and we can talk to them every day. So we really try to use that, having their attention to help them to another level, and we do that every day. That just this morning, last night, we worked together, worked with the Dream Center on one of those young men, 18 years old, uh, brilliant, bright young man that got into an argument with his parents. He's an amazing young man, sweet as can be, no drugs, and just left home. And now he's sleeping on the concrete without a blanket, a pillow, or anything, just lays down on the concrete. He's totally out of character for where he should be. But anyway, we're trying to get him in a better place. But those kind of stories are daily.
Yeah. And thank you for just clarifying that with the different types of situations and people find themselves in. And you serve all of those people. It's not just it's anybody that's hungry,
Right.
period,
Yeah.
regardless of their housing. So I
Yes.
think that's an important just clarification to make for people to
And
say,
when we find somebody that has been down and out, just become homeless, don't have a clue how to be homeless. Really, their first line of defense is get them fed, nutrition. That's why we call it nutrition first, because if you can't take care of that physical need first and get them fed, even before the clothes, before trying to get their social security card or driver's license, before any of that, you have to get healthy nutrition in their body so their mind works well, their body works well, so they have energy to function. So it's always first to get the food in
Mhm.
them, and then we take that step first, then we go to
Yeah,
the next step.
it's good.
Is the purpose of the Homeless Coalition, just so that I understand, because I am in this ignorant space of some of this myself, the 30 agencies or however many that you said, so you guys all come together, is that for purpose of like continuum of care? Is that specific to guest, like, or how, what is the full circle goal of the coalition?
Really, it's if you look at it as a team, uh, maybe a football team, and everybody has their position to play,
Mhm.
and then you got to come together and make a plan. Um, and it could be, instead of the team, your opponent that you're playing, it could be that one specific homeless. Let's look at where he is. What are his needs?
Mm,
He has mental health issues. He needs medication. He needs food. He needs shelter. He needs clothes. He needs job opportunities. He needs coaching on interviews, how to interview,
mhm,
how to present himself, and uh, each agency has their own level of it may be homelessness of a family, and uh, family promise, may say, we've got some space, send them here, or it may be somebody that got beat up and she's out of the house, she's trying to get away from an abusive situation, and Safe Place may say,
Mhm.
send them here, and we can connect with that. Or I was trying to think of who we were just recently talking about, but mental health issue. This particular person, she was completely off her medication and just really looked like somebody that needed to be institutionalized. She just simply needed her medication. She needed somebody to help her with funding for her medication. She didn't know how to get there. Somebody in the room, Permia Care, says, I can help with that. So we say, here she is. And we stay in contact weekly. And I'll call her and say, come over. I have somebody I want to introduce you to. Uh, it's just like a team that comes together and we share that. Or she'll call me and say, I met so and so on the streets. He needs food. I'll say, I'll be there in the morning. And we just kind of, did
Yeah,
that answer your
absolutely.
question? Okay.
And I love that because I think it's hard to know. I mean, you might be a first line contact of some of the people, and they're in these maybe the lowest of their lows. If I'm having to shower and I have no food and you're a place that can offer that to me, or maybe a soup kitchen, that might be like a first line contact, to where then you find out it is a abused,
Yeah.
battered woman, and where her next step could be, or the 18-year-old boy. I was wondering if you guys did work with Base and Dream Center with these young,
Mhm.
24 and under young adults that are homeless, houseless. So I'm I'm happy to hear that. I love to hear about these collaborations that are going on and continuum of care, because I think something that people get a bad taste in their mouth, and I'm probably one of these people, if I'm just frank and honest, is I struggle with giving a man a fish and not teaching them to fish. And I know that in life circumstances, not everyone is in an initial place to be able to learn to fish. But I also know that out of goodness of hearts, enabling sometimes happens. And so I love to hear that through this, it sounds like continuum of care. Like, how can we help these people get well if they need to get well? How do we help them just find the resources they need if that's really what they need so they don't slip further down the track
Right.
and find themselves in a worse situation.
That's a
So,
good example. Nobody, and if you don't take care of their physical needs first, when they have that, they're starving, they're hungry,
right.
and you've heard hangry.
Yes.
You're mad because
Yeah.
you're
Right.
hungry, and I like what John Maxwell says. It doesn't matter how much you know until they don't care how
Until
much you
you
know
mhm,
until they know how
how
much you
much you care.
care.
Right.
And so you first got to start with we care, we want you to eat. Don't just start bottom how we're going to fix you.
Right.
We're going to make you better. You just got to start with letting them decompress. Just love them first because it could be a situation where a woman has lived under the thumb of an abusive man for years. She has no self-esteem. She doesn't know how to socialize. She has no job skills. She may even be depressed, all of those mental health issues. And then you throw her out there in the bunch, and she doesn't know how to coexist in society. She has no social issues. There's a lot of homeless that have high anxiety or no social skills. And they say, "Why don't you go to work?" Well, they have no social skills.
Right. You
They
can't do
try
the
to
job.
they
Yeah.
want to work, but they go to work, but they haven't been taught in the mental health issue how to coexist with, they've been out of work for 20 years and then just throw them in there and say, have fun working.
Yeah.
Here's your schedule.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, you got to see the big picture
Mhm.
and start there.
Well,
So,
ultimately, until you gain that trust with someone, anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
mhm,
matter. You can have all the best resources for them and the best plan. And the plan may actually be a highly successful plan. But if you haven't gained their trust, then they're not going to be successful on that
no,
plan.
and I promise you, they've been judged a whole bunch.
Sure.
And it's extremely sad. And you want to be the last one to judge them. You just want to tell them that they have value and that that value still exists in them. And then start there in little tiny bites till they believe you. And then go to another. They don't want to hear us say, you can value, you're going to be a great worker, you just need to get a job, and we're going to put you in the workforce.
Right.
That is terrifying to somebody that has no social skills.
Mhm.
That you just that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
So you got to figure out what does work and have that kind of compassion for them to start there with mental health experts that know how to start with those tiny bites.
Right.
I just appreciate you sharing. Just it's exciting. I mean, it makes us really happy. I hope that it is something that the audience can resonate with also, just to see that you're just one piece of this pie of all the networks that are going on to meet this community and the needs that we have among the homeless. And so I just appreciate seeing almost those success stories, that it's not like you're living in isolation at Breaking Bread. It's very that you're on the front line of defense, and then you are able to connect those resources to different people as needed. And so I think that's exciting, because we don't want to just perpetuate and have more people that aren't taking opportunity, or in the homeless community, that they feel hopeless. We want to give them hope that there's life beyond where they are in those certain circumstances. And so thank you for just your heart in that, because I we haven't touched a ton. We've talked about your background, but it's obvious, it's just shown through your compassion, your care for people, and why you love what you do. Because I think it does take just that humility of heart to be able to say, I'm willing, and to not get discouraged, because I'm sure that there are discouragements as well. But just to have that hope for people,
Yeah.
it's exciting to know.
Well, to be honest, I am in way over my head. you know,
as all of us are.
most days, and thank God that He gave me this assignment. I thank Him every day. Are you sure you meant,
Yeah.
meant for me to have this assignment? And He's like, oh yeah. But
Mhm,
as long as I keep drawing my strength from Him, and there, I've got to.
mhm,
And if I wasn't in over my head and couldn't go to Him, because in my weakness, He is able to be strong. And I keep telling Him, Lord, I'm in way over my head, um, you know,
yeah.
are you sure you wanted me for this assignment? And He's like,
Yeah.
He assures me and gives me encouragement and intercedes for me
Mhm.
to the Father. And I'm so grateful for the
That's good.
opportunity, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple more questions and then or one more question and then we have a surprise for you. Um, so if you had a dream of where Breaking Bread could be in 2 or 3 years, what do you have any ideas of what you would like to see for the
In a
organization?
perfect world,
In a
yeah.
perfect world. This is
Yeah.
perfect world.
Yeah. I would love to see a bigger facility. We have definitely outgrown where we are because we just, cram that place to
Mhm.
the brim, but we love it like that. It's so much excitement and energy in there. Sometimes a little more energy than what we bargained for, but
Mm.
it's always good. And sometimes we have to literally settle things down. But we have to remember that not everybody's coming from the same perspective, that just because your perspective is where you were raised and where you come from and what you think people ought to be thinking, you can't judge how
Mhm.
they respond to situations because they were raised different. They are different situations. Their neurotransmitters are arranged different because of situations they've been through. So you have to take that into consideration and let God do His work. Just love them,
Mhm.
and sometimes you have to be disciplined in your love for them and for
Mhm.
even if it is asking them to leave for the day.
Yeah.
I would love to see a bigger facility. I'd love to see a bigger staff because our staff is, like I said, amazing. They work their tails off and they work way more hours than they're paid for, and nobody complains. They show up a few hours early and stay hours late past time that they're paid for and never
Mhm.
ask for more. And I say, go home, get out of here. And they're like, no, not until the team is in good shape.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. I couldn't have handpicked, I couldn't have asked for a better
Mhm.
team and a more in love with our guest team than what we have. So,
That's really exciting. I love that. Love to hear those kinds of stories. So,
I do
um,
have one more crazy
yeah.
question because working in ministry for a lot of years at a large church and we fed a lot of people, there was always leftovers. And people would say, take them to breaking bread. Is that a real thing? Do y'all take
Please.
okay, so if
All day
people
long.
have an event or
It
something and
doesn't
there's
matter how
leftover
small.
food, they can bring
Yes.
it. Okay.
If you have even a small donation, trust me, we got something we can add to it.
Okay.
Our send it to. We do have some homebound that we deliver to as well. I didn't mention that, but we do plates that are delivered to a few homebound that can't get there, and that can. It's a smaller quantity, so we can build plates for that. And then we have volunteers that deliver that on a daily basis. Yes.
Okay. Well, we everybody be like,
It's a great
"Well, we'll take it to
question.
breaking bread." And then
And they're like, "It's not enough."
and then
They feed
and
100
people would
people.
pack it up and someone would take it and then I would always be like, "I wonder if you can do that."
And there's a handful of people that like I said, we don't try to feed lunch. We want the soup kitchen to have, do that. But there are as needed times that they can't get on the van or whatever, if they're in the shower, if they're banned or just get off work. There's a number of reasons that they can't make that time slot where they're feeding there. We want to make sure they're fed. So
It's great.
yeah, thank you for asking that.
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
very
That is
great
a great
question.
question.
Okay, so Shirley, we have a little thing just to end with. So we have a little sack full of quotes,
Oh,
and
okay.
Leslie and I love quotes, and what just kind of a little place for you guys to read it, think about it, and just respond to it. Just to hear your perspective, and so I'm gonna hand you this,
Okay.
and if you'll just
Oh,
draw one out,
pick one.
pick one.
One of the millions it felt like when I was typing them, but
You typed all these. You were a busy girl. Okay. Leave the road, take the trails.
Mm,
Hmm.
what do you think?
I don't even know what that means. Leave the road and take the trails. We do that a lot. I mean, we do off-roading sometime in the morning at
Yeah.
breakfast. Literally.
Yeah.
Uh, so explain how that what you mean.
I think just does that quote make you think about anything? I mean, physically, yes, you go off the trail, to feed people and those kinds of
Mhm.
things. But does it mean anything to you when you think about your life or experiences or those of your clients? Does it bring anything to mind that sometimes?
Maybe out of the box sort of thing.
Mhm.
Is that
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
yeah, definitely out of the box. Yeah, sometimes you do have to there's a lot of times that you do have to leave the road and take the trail as far as there's no completely every situation being exactly the same. You have to read the situation, and every guest is same. And like I said, they've been through different life experiences.
Hmm.
So you kind of have to read what life experiences and how to respond to them through that, um, and how to serve them through that, and who to help them get help from
Hmm.
through that.
Yeah.
So,
I think for you not understanding that, you did a great job of talking through that because I think it is true that we all kind of want to have this perfect plan sometimes, and we definitely have to, you know, there's pathways. We want to, figure out the rules and where we're supposed to be on the road, but at times there are times that you have to take the trail, and
yeah,
usually the trail is
that's
harder.
actually a really good.
And
Yeah.
so,
I like
But
that.
I was
Yeah.
thinking too on this, what came to my mind is that your willingness to say, hey, we can't judge these people. We have to come with compassion. We have to be willing to see from not our own perspective. They weren't raised the same. They may not see things the same. We can't just throw them in. All of these stereotypes that surround this community and your guest. I think all of those, like pushing back against all of those, is taking the trail. And usually you can take the main road, but you are not going to see the waterfalls, the most beautiful parts of going on a hike, the nature. And
Mm,
so I think
yeah.
what it resonated with me for your journey is that you have been on the trails. And because of that, and your willingness to do that, even though the trails are harder, um, you've been able to see some beautiful glimpses of
That
some
gave me
things that people
goosebumps.
just
good.
passing
Mhm.
quickly on the road
Yeah.
will never see.
Yeah. One thing that my staff knows and we keep in mind is, and I tell my guest, it doesn't matter when if you've had conflict out there, somebody on the street, if you're fighting with your wife because you over finances, you haven't no have not having money is a lot of stress,
Mhm.
cause conflict in the home. Whatever is going on when you before you walk in that door, it drops off.
Mm,
You come in that door and you become family. And I don't care if you got your hat turned this way and your pants rolled up that way. You don't do that in there. Everybody becomes family in there,
mm,
and there's no conflict. If there is, you're out.
Mhm.
You're asked to leave. You can come back tomorrow and try again tomorrow, but for today, you're out. And that's just them understanding the first tiny bite, the first step of resolving conflict and coexisting in a world where it's an imperfect world, imperfect people. We're all full of, stuff, and we're trying to coexist. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
and they begin to understand that, and it's beautiful, like you said, to watch that and to watch that transformation. It's such an honor that God would allow us to watch that transformation. And oh, we give high fives and do herkies and all kinds of fun stuff,
That's
when
good.
like, did you see that? Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it,
Yeah.
wasn't that fun? And yes, it was. And
That's awesome.
um, we love doing that.
Yeah. Well, Shirley, thank you so much for just the time and sharing about breaking bread and the people that you're serving because I do think there's just lots of questions out there for people and also just as a resource that if they find somebody that maybe we're challenged as we see people on the street or on the corner like what would it be to help them to get help. I think um, money is important, but like sending them to the agencies that are actually providing that support is really beneficial to our community. And I just don't, I would love to see every person on the street that's on the corner actually getting services rather than standing on the street corner.
Yeah,
Because I think ultimately it becomes us to be a stronger community together. And honestly, it's just, it's frustrating for people in the general public, um, that sometimes you see the same person standing on the street, but to know that there's resources for that, then we need to take the step
you're right.
as citizens to
Mm,
say, "Hey, how can I help that person get there?"
so true.
And, so it puts responsibility on us
Mhm.
as well to really look and say in our own heart,
Yes,
how are we doing with that? And how are we even handing out a piece of paper? Hey, this is where you need to go. And if you can't do it right then,
that's
get an
it's
Uber,
so good a
call
point.
somebody,
Yeah.
I mean,
I would highly discourage against cash, resources and directing them to the right uh, place.
Mhm.
And sometimes it'll make them mad because they want cash, and
Yeah.
for maybe it is for the wrong reason, maybe it's not. But there's resource. It's better to direct them in the right direction of
Yeah.
those resources. Um, but always start with a non judgmental word of compassion. See them. They want to be seen, they want to be noticed as a human being that is valued
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
with a kind word, not treated like they probably got treated all day long. Like, you know,
Yeah.
um, and that really, if you want to make me mad, just do that in
Yeah.
front of me
Yeah.
because I hate it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're some of the most amazing human
People.
beings, highly educated. There's so many highly educated people that might have had a nervous breakdown or whatever reason,
Right.
um, that have had companies, jobs,
Mhm.
on the streets.
Yeah.
And there's some that don't, but they're still as valued that might have got through the eighth grade,
Yeah.
whatever. It don't matter, but they still have great value and they
Yeah.
still have the same purpose that God created them from the beginning with, but they're still trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Don't be judgmental and
Yes.
don't stereotype them.
Yeah.
You don't know that individual and their story.
Yeah. Well,
Ask
we
them.
have lots of life lessons. I think it's really if we take the time to really not just listen and cast it aside, but like if we really take in what we've talked about today, I think there's definitely places for each of us to kind of reevaluate how we think, how our perspective, and maybe how we can help either through volunteering or donating our time, our resources, individual items, clothing, all those kinds of things that we can all be a part of what's happening. So thanks
Mhm.
for being on the
Thank you for
Good
having
Work
me.
West
So
Texas.
fun to
I
hang out with
love
y'all. Love it.
Yeah, I love what you're doing, and thank you so much for just willing to be that, salt and light. So, anyway, all right,
Thank you.
that's a wrap.